Glory, glory, Manticore. Glory, glory, Manticore. Glory, glory, Manticore. I don't remember the rest of the words.
And he ain't gonna sting no more. Also, just looking into, I get peek behind the curtain here. I like the last thing I said before I hit record was give it a few seconds of silence, immediately into the song.
I mean, I gave it a few seconds of silence. Yeah. I just didn't see that you hadn't hit record yet.
And in Cian's defense, he did start this whole conversation when he joined the call and said, just to let you know, I've been drinking all day and writing letters. So give the brother a break.
Some of us are on holiday today. The rest of us aren't.
Yeah.
So welcome back,
pretty
guys.
much straight from Anvil. But anyways, let's keep going.
Let's do it.
Welcome back to Tales from Anvil for one of our lovely recap episodes. It has been another trip to Anvil. We have all gone home again. We have had a couple of nights of sleep. For some of us have anyway. It's too goddamn hot to sleep. And we are here to recap our last event, E2 2026, Spring Equinox. And I've been given the pleasure of going first. So you get to listen to me just yitter on for the next hour probably.
Hell yeah. Before we get in, though, I've missed you, lads. It's been like 6 days, but holy, I have missed you, boys.
It's been a week. It's just over a week. Yeah, it's just over a week. Like, we've had a weekend.
We did not interact that much.
No, we didn't.
No. I remember bringing you over to the Emerald Lance on the Thursday, and you and the two lads, and then I think you guys left really early.
No, what happened was you brought us over to the Emerald Land, sat with us for like approximately 8 minutes, then got very like distracted by other things happening around you, stood up, and then we never saw you again because you were like dotting around talking to people. So then the three of us looked at each other and went, "Fuck it, let's go." Like it's 11 o'clock.
Yeah, okay, yeah, fair.
I mean, let's also not forget before we get fully into my recap. Let's also not forget on three separate occasions, Dan, you went, "Yeah, I'll come and catch you in the Emerald Lands camp as soon as I take my gear off." Never saw you again.
No. Do you know how many fucking promises I made that event and never fulfilled them? So many. Oh yeah. So one of our friends, Jasmine and Sam, it was their first event.
Yes.
Every time I bumped into them, it was like, "Oh, I'll pop round later and we'll go for a drink." And then I'd see them 3 hours later. It was like, "I haven't forgotten. I'll drop round in a bit and we'll go for a drink." About 4 times throughout the weekend, I saw it and said the same thing.
Sam's character backstory is we're like actual cousins in our character backstories, and we still didn't like sit down to talk until I think like Saturday. I think I'll double check when I go through my notes here, but I'm pretty sure I didn't actually get to sit down and be like cousin until like Saturday.
Spoiler alert from my recap. I kept trying to get dedicated to Ambition. By Charlie. We rescheduled that 3 times.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm still not dedicated to Ambition.
Nice.
I mean, well, spoilers for but I did manage to get dedicated to Ambition, and I had it done by somebody in our camp, and that still took almost the entire weekend to get done. So,
yeah.
Nice.
Right. So, I've got my notes. I've got my little notebook. I've made some notes. I'm going to get rid of the schedule because we're not doing that bit. So, Alrayus's recap for E2 Spring Equinox. I didn't get down on the Thursday this year due to some stuff that was going on at home. I got down Friday. I managed to get set up in the tent and was already in plenty of time. Got over to God, picked up all the stuff. We didn't do any podcasty stuff this time because I was getting there late and we all had shit to do. And Dan had about 7 meetings I'm sure he'll tell us about in his recap. But once we got the time in, yeah, you did. Once we get the time in, the first thing I want to do is they do listen to the show, so hopefully they've stuck around, they're still listening, and this is your test to see if you are still listening. One of the first thing I wanted to go and do was just have a quick chat with Gwen from the Order of Birdsong, who I've made no secret about this. Whenever they reform their house, I'm trying to convince them to join the Lance officially, because they have now fought with us a couple of times. I knew they had a bunch of new members joining, so I wanted to go and introduce myself, say hi, so, in character, like, I hope your journey to Anvil was all right. And then I was aware that we had a skirmish quite early on that Friday. Actually, was that on the Friday? Yes, it was the skirmish to deal with these blind ghosts, which we knew nothing about. So the first task that was set to me by Erickson, our strategos, because he was the one organizing the skirmish, was I need to go and do a couple of other things. As soon as time in hits, can you go and find the High Exorcist? They're in Dawn. They're literally a few camps down from us. Go and see what they know about ghosts. So I did. I ran off to speak to them about ghosts, knowing that I had to be back in the Lance for 6:30 for our Lance captain vote. Now, I always planned out, knowing that Cian had we'd joked in our Discord about the Lance possibly having a big argument over who could and could not vote in the Lance captain vote. But for the most part, it seemed like most of the nobles could not have given a less of a shit about this vote, and it was just an excuse for the Yo to time in a little bit early and have an argument in character. So I was like, if it's not going to matter, I need to go and sort out the bits I need to sort out. So it literally gets to 1:30. I'm like, cool, I'll head back into camp for the vote. And I see everyone in the Lance is already arrayed, and the 3 other people running for Lance captain are stood in the middle of the circle. I'm like, what the fuck are you guys doing? And I find out that Brad decided he was going to call the meeting early so that we could argue about who could and couldn't vote.
Didn't know that.
Like, are you serious? So I get pulled in last minute and stood next to Cian. I
wasn't there.
Cian. Not
Kane.
Not yet. Not Cian. Kane. I get stood next to Kane. And in front of it, it's very confusing. Stood next to everyone. And I'm stood there and everyone's back and forth. Now, again, the reason we talked about having this discussion, argument, was because when this was brought up in a digital Lance meeting, and it was that I just innocently asked the question, who can vote in the Lance captain meeting? And a bunch of people replied with, well, obviously it's, and then proceeded to give completely different answers. So there was no official thing. Some people thought only the nobles should vote. Some people thought that only people who have been on the battlefield should vote. Somebody thought that only actual members of the Emerald Lance should vote, because there are some houses who fight with us regularly that aren't official members. So everyone's, well, it's obviously was a completely different answer. So now we time in and everyone's having this argument, and I get there in time to have a couple of bits where I can chime in, but it very quickly becomes apparent that the only person who seems to now in character have a differing view is Decimus de Bastian, the challenger in waiting who organized the Manticore tournament. He is the only person arguing for the fact that only people who have stepped onto the battlefield with the Lance should be the ones to vote. Almost every other person is arguing in favor of it being anyone who supports the Lance, whether that's on the battlefield, through money, through resources, essentially all of the members of the houses who are members of the Lance. And all of a sudden, it's I'm still there going, when we asked this question online, there was a lot of different answers. And now I think it's just because in character, generally, when Decimus has an opinion, a lot of people pick the opposite opinion. So it's just Decimus is arguing for this fact that it's we cannot see how people lead unless you're on the battlefield with them. And other people well, if we don't allow people who don't support, if people who support the Lance but don't fight don't get an opinion, why would they keep supporting the Lance? And there was I got to throw in quite a pithy moment where he was talking about people who are part of the Lance, and I just said, "Can I stop you there, sir?" I think he was still sir at this point. I don't think he passed.
He's still sir at that, yeah.
Yeah, he hadn't passed his test at this point. So I was like, anyone present who considers themselves a part of the Lance, please raise your hand. And pretty much everyone there raised their hand. Okay. If you do not fight for the Lance in the battlefield, please lower your hand. And a good half of the people there dropped their hands. And I turned to Decimus and went, are you willing to lose that many people's support? And it was I didn't deliver the final pithy moment. There was quite a few other bits, but I was quite proud of that in the moment, not thinking we were going to be having this goddamn argument. So anyway, bottom line is...
Do you know what his house words are?
Oh, I did, but it's...
We do not yield.
That's it. We do not yield. That's the one.
That's why he continued the argument, probably.
Oh, yeah. Probably. But, so the bottom line was, we get to the point, I don't know if were you there for this?
No, I was at a skirmish this entire time.
Oh, that's right. So, you must be aware of this then. Everyone pretty much agrees that it's anyone who supports the Lance can vote, to which Decimus steps forward and goes, okay, in which case, House de Bastian is no longer part of the Lance.
I heard about that later on, and I was actually really pissed with Decimus for about 5 minutes, and then Pendior, who's not a member of the Bastion, explained it to me. Well, as in we want to grow outside of the Lance. And I was okay, that's a really good answer.
But then they went. Never fucking mind. Lance. They went and joined another Lance.
Yeah.
So we did all that, and now we get to the actual vote. Of those who voted, again, I knew I would have to give a speech. I gave a bit of a speech. It was pretty much a lot of the stuff I'd put in a lot of my different letters. I just pulled into a very short speech. I wasn't expecting to be put on the spot and pick a second. I thought it would be like, oh, I can, like, if I'm voted in, then I can find a second. So I had to be like, Leoric, because he's shown that he's a great second, knowing full well he's one of the guys I'm running against. I'm like, people aren't going to like that answer. But I wasn't expecting to have to give it then. I wanted it to be like a case of anyone who wishes to be second, come and speak to me. But it was like, and I should have said that, but instead I had a brain fart. I'm just like, no, Leoric. But anyway, the bottom line was, again, I knew I wasn't going to win. So I think I ended up with 5 votes, which is important later, because one of those votes was Mercury from our house. The other 4 were not members of our house. Or was it 3? I think it was 3 or 4. Cian, I don't think, got any votes. God bless him. And then, but it was pretty much between Leoric and Dorian, which we knew was going to be the case. Yeah. And Leoric won by, I think it was like 2 or 3 votes. It was relatively close. Maybe 4. It was relatively close. Everyone has their little moment afterwards, shaking hands, like, say, congratulations, no hard feelings, I'm still going to be part of the Lance, blah, blah, blah. I speak to Leoric very quickly. I was like, I don't know if you're intending to still have a third. I'd be more than happy to serve as third again. He had already picked his second, which was a member of House Serenus. Kenric? Was it Kenric?
Kenric of House Serenus.
I keep saying Serenus.
Yeah.
It's close enough. Kenric of House Serenus, he was picked as second. I was like, look, if you're picking a third, let me know. He said, I haven't really decided if we're having a third. I don't know how many numbers we're going to have in the Lance. If we have like fewer than so many, I don't think there's much of a point. And I was like, yeah, whatever. I have shit to do. Bye. And I had to run off and do more stupid stuff. So, spoke to them. At this point, we knew we had so many for this skirmish. So I tried to catch up with Erickson. I ran through what I'd learned about spooky blind ghosts, which is that they're blind. Okay. Which is the ghosts are blind, and they will track you based on sound. So we knowing this much, or assuming that much ahead of time, Erickson had OC Harrison had gone and made essentially noise grenades, which were tuna cans full of bolts that he had like taped shut. And then I had brought like a load of my rags with me from a sewing that we then like tied them up in, so they weren't just like duct tape. So we had all these. I ran them. I gave them all like the rundown on the rest of the stuff with the ghost, which is that do not hit them. If you hit them, or if they hit you, they will probably curse you. If you do hit them, they will like dissipate and reappear somewhere else nearby. So do not hit them if you can avoid it. If you find yourself like closed down by them and you have no way to escape, then hit them, because it's easier to deal with a curse than dead. So if you hit them, they will disappear. That will give you a gap to get away from, and you can run away. So around through all this, we realized we have, I think it was a 10-man skirmish. It's a 10-man skirmish. We had like 5, and we wanted to, on the worst case scenario, thinking that, if we have to fight these ghosts, the best way is with an exorcist. We were just running around trying to find a few different exorcists, because again, something I'm not super familiar with, but the priests part of the game they will tell you this. You need certain kinds of priests to deal with certain kinds of ghosts. So a courage priest, vigilant priest, ambition priest will be used to deal with certain kinds of ghosts. We don't know enough about these ghosts to know which one's effective. So we're like, let's just grab a couple of different ones. So I think we ended up with like 5 different kinds of priest with us, just in case. We run around, we gather as many of those as possible. Then Erickson grabs, we were actually in between all this. I was meant to have gone with Erickson to have a meeting with General Cordraco, because he was something there. She's apparently our boss as the Strategos. So it was like, we're meant to meet with them, but the Lance Captain vote was still happening. So I missed that, but I did catch him, and we went to the Lance Captain's meeting where we were introduced as Strategos and Proxy to all the Lance Captains. Which actually, I'm going to take a very quick aside here to do a PSA, and I want to be 100% clear. This isn't a go at anyone, but it's something I've found like both IC and OC. A lot of people don't really get the role of Strategos, and this is just a very quick PSA to people out there. If you're looking to skirmish, the best person to speak to is your nation Strategos, but they are not the ones organizing every skirmish. So most of the skirmishes will be applied to a specific person, and the Strategos is there to support you. Every so often, they will be assigned their own skirmish, like the Ghost one. We've lost Cian. Hopefully, they're back in a second. Every so often, they'll be assigned to an actual skirmish at the Ghost one, and it's their responsibility to do everything and lead to the skirmish while it's happening. Sometimes, though, it is another person. He's back. It's fine.
Sometimes, though, it's teleported.
Sometimes, though, it's another person, but they can go and ask their nation Strategos for support. So what happens is this person will say to the strata goes, I have a 30-man skirmish. I have this many people, I think. Can you go and get me X number? But then they'll not see each other for a few hours, and the strategist will go away and he will recruit people for the skirmish, and then they will turn up at the gate, and the person who's organizing it will go, actually, I had an extra 10 people come up and volunteer, so I only need half of the number that I gave you. And that means some people will get turned away. And like I've talked to people who have been getting like OC, they get it's part of the game, but IC would get quite annoyed by this. And I'm like, well, would you rather that the skirmishes were undermanned?
Like, I think, yeah. I think the problem being is, I don't necessarily mind as much if the people organizing the skirmish ask for a set number. So they go, look, I have 10. Can you find me 10? And I can go and see if I can get 10 more. Because then at least you know that you haven't gone to 4 different people and gone, get as many as you can.
Yeah.
And 60 people turn up for a 30-man skirmish. I get OC, like, I understand why and how it happens, but IC, it's such a fuck around, especially when you're asking so many people to gear up, be ready on a certain time. You're disrupting whatever plans they may have so they can come and support you. They turn up at the gate to then get a really snooty general of a particular nation be like, no, I want them because they're my friends, and you go,
which again,
you're a knobhead.
Like, like I'm going to talk because it literally happened to me on the Saturday, but I think a lot of people then will just like blame the strategos for this, and like, if you sign up to be on a skirmish, you have to be aware there's a small chance that you're going to get bounced at the gate, because it's not always the strategos who's organizing it, and a lot of the time, the people who do organize them don't actually know what the role of strategos is. And they don't know how to rely on them properly. So, like, again, this is not having a go at anyone. This is the stuff that happens. It's part of the game, and it's. Just gonna mute Cian while he's rearranging furniture. It's a thing that happens. You need to. And again, not having a go at anyone because, like,
no.
I'm annoyed when I got bounced. Like, I moaned and bitched about it for a good 20 minutes to an hour when it happened to me. Yeah. So this is not me having a go at anyone. It's a PSA for people who just don't know how the rule works.
Yeah, exactly. And we have to also appreciate that people who do get assigned skirmishes, sometimes that is the first time they've ever been assigned one, or they're in a role that's new and have been assigned one, and they might not know the best way to go about doing that because they are like, let's take the apothecary skirmish at E1. The person in charge of that is a non-combat player who was told you have to find 65 people to go through the gate at 5:30. At 6:30, 7 o'clock on the Friday, with an hour to try and get numbers. So in their defense, went to everyone and went, get as many as you can. I don't know how this works.
And we told that story in the previous recap. We ended up with way too many and people were bounced. And like, that specifically has resulted in quite a bit of very interesting game on our end, which I'll touch on in a minute, because it's Ericsson is being pilloried, which is great.
While we're having this discussion, because when I did the Magpie skirmish, I was in command of the support and we were going in last. I saw about 3 people jump in ahead of us. So my second in command got bounced. Which is shit, and I felt really bad because I did the calculation in my head and went, okay, we are down to this person who was asked to be a bodyguard. Okay, you can jump on. But I told her specifically, you go last. They didn't listen to that order.
No.
They didn't listen to a lot of orders.
It is what it is. It's the minutia, but I like that you have called that out as a PSA, Jordan, because I think it is something that if you are in the combat game and you go on a lot of skirmishes, it's something that a lot of people get really pissy about. Like OC in an IC frame, like they'll come back and start throwing armor around and like just generally like lower the mood around the people that are around. And
again, IC is part of the game, right? Yeah, IC is perfectly fine to be annoyed about. It's like, because IC you have like, even OC, like, you're there for a certain length of time and your time has been wasted. Again, it happened to me. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but if you're signing up for a skirmish, it is a risky take. And like, you know, there's a reason they assign these skirmishes to be organized by non-combat people to generate this kind of drama. It's part of the game. But this is not, making it very clear, this is not having a go at anyone. This is just something that I feel like a lot of people don't realize is part of the Strategos. Like they think the Strategos has either way more power or no power at all.
Yes. Yeah. So, agreed.
But we'll probably do like a more of a deep dive in that when we talk about some more military stuff in the future to go through how that process actually works. But anyway, that was just a quick
we do need to get Harrison on the podcast at some point.
At some 100%, it'd be very good crack. But in this period, I'm running around. We're trying to find more. We did the meeting with the lance captains. I have like an hour or so, I think, where we're trying to find more exorcists. Erickson gets a couple more. One of them was a jester that we spoke to together, and I'm going to apologize because they did send me their name, and I've not actually put it in this bit of my notes. It's in my other bit of notes, which I'm not going to start searching through now. But they very kindly debelled themselves so that they could come on the silent skirmish because they had bells in their hats, and it was very funny. But they debelled, they offered to come on with us, and I'm not joking when I say like 20 minutes before we're due to like meet in our camp to like debrief on it, they come up to me and go, "Hey, by the way, did you see all those heralds of spring that were running around Dawn earlier?" I was like, "Oh yeah, no, they like cursed the Glory Square, they cursed Senate." It was like, "Yeah, I've been cursed by unfettered anarchy," and I was like, "What does that mean?" And they're like, "Oh, it means I will like." Have a I will have a very large outburst at a dramatically appropriate time. I just like turned around, and this is one of the reasons I love playing a changeling, because you're like encouraged to have like emotional outbursts. I just turned, like, so I wasn't facing directly at them, in the middle of the street in front of the Glory Square, and just went, "Fuck," at the top of my lungs. Nice. And they were like, "Don't worry, I think I may be able to fix it in time." And I was like, "What?" Just like, I was like, nice. I'll meet you at camp. And I was like, "What? Are you sure you should come?" And she's like, "It'll be fine." And then like they lent to me, was like, "Oh, see, I get to decide when that dramatically appropriate moment is." And I was like, "Yeah, but like you're also a jester. What would be funnier than you doing that in the middle of a deadly ghost skirmish?" And she's like, "Yeah." So anyway,
it's not the Earl of Fools, was it?
I don't know if it's the Earl of Fools. They wear like the blue, like the pale blue and white. We'll determine who it was after. I don't know if it was the Earl of Fools, but they normally walk around with a Cian.
Oh, no, I wouldn't know them. Yeah, that's not ringing any bells.
They were lovely. Anyway, they came and met us at the camp. They said, "Oh, don't worry, I had a priest do something to my soul, which like overwrites the unfettered anarchy. It's still not great, but I can guarantee that I'll not do anything on the skirmish." I was like, "That's the best we're getting."
Yeah. You just kind of sit there and go, "Great."
Yeah.
Great.
So then we had, so the bit of the fun bit of the game then was we had obviously Emberic and Flint from Solrenay from our camp were two of the ones coming with us. We had a couple of other ones. We had myself, Erickson. We had two other guys I didn't recognize and whose names I'm trying to get a hold of. There was an older gentleman who, and I'm really sorry again, because again, I wrote the name down and then I could not find it when I got home. But I think he goes by B, and he's an older gentleman who was in the camp that was like 2 tents down from Wise Guys, like towards the center of Dawn. I would have to search up on the map to figure out exactly what house it was. But he was an older gentleman, he was another priest. He came along with us. It was all very cool. We had like this really like this very just like a disparate squad of people. You had like this older gentleman, like the silver hair, very distinguished, stood next to a jester with no bells on. It was very funny. But then we also had somebody from House Elian who was doing another tested metal, which was the same thing that happened on the Apothecary skirmish, where we had the member of House Elian who came along as part of their test to go into the field. And it was very funny because then the one who did the test in the last one, whose sibling was the one that Erickson pissed off, was also there. Like, "Oh, I'm just here to watch them to the gate and like look after them." But luckily, they were there for the brief. Luckily, for a reason I will explain in a minute. So we do the brief, we talk about the ghosts, we explain all the stuff. Erickson gives out the noise grenades, and we head to the gate. We get to the gate and then realize that Erickson is, I don't know if he just forgot or nobody explained to me, because I think this is the first like skirmish that he's been in charge of. He didn't get a mage to open the gate. When you go on a skirmish, the conjunction happens, but you need a mage who knows the name of the location to open the gate. Now, luckily, Burnell had come along, I believe, to either see like the rod and shield stuff people off, or he was seeing off Flint and Emberic. So we just start screaming, is there a mage here? And Burnell steps out to be like, I can open it. Where are you going? And we all just start screaming the name of the place at him. Now, was Hadrian on the Rod and Shield one? Or
Yeah.
Did you guys come back before we left?
Our one was at 8:30.
So probably not then. I might have found out about what happened when I came
I would
off.
say you found out afterwards.
Probably. I will not go into detail on that, but I will mention, obviously, because I didn't find out as well. But Burnell does the gate for us. We all, it also didn't help that we had been watching the time quite closely, and then we started talking, and then the ref leant in and was like, do you know what time it is? And I was like, oh, I thought you would like tell us when it was conjunction time. I was like, no, you have to do that yourself. I was like, cool. I was like, who's opening the gate for you? We're like, Erickson. He's like, what? So we start screaming for Burnell. Burnell runs over. He does a sermon by the gates and like opens the gate for us, and we all pile through. Got into the field. Dead silence. We see these creepy people dressed in black sort of wander around. Every so often, out of nowhere, one will charge like 5 steps forward and swing their sword, and they're all like blindfolded. Very creepy ring wraith vibes. I look behind me, hoping to see the 9 other people that we have debriefed who have been told that I am in charge when we're on the field, and to look to me for direction because we will not be able to speak. And I see 4 other people who were not meant to be on this skirmish at the back. One of them, thankfully, was the other member of House Elian, who had been at the debrief, so knew all the other stuff. One of them was I can't remember why this happened. I think we miscounted because there was, is it Lily from Solrenay?
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
That's not her IC name, but that's her OC name.
That's
her real name.
Yeah, that's her real name, or OC name. Their character was meant to come with us, but like somehow we like miscounted and rocked up with 11. And we're like, oh, well, we'd kind of rather have the priests. So we asked them, would they mind stepping out? And they were like, yeah, no, it's fine. But for some reason, after Burnell had let us all through, the guys in the gate were like counting, and they went, gate's still open, because normally it should just like close itself when you get to the correct number. And Burnell was like, oh, okay, go. Not realizing that this was like a silent extraction thing. He just let 4 people through. Luckily, 2 of them had been at the brief, so they knew about all this, but 2 of them did not. And they were just tagging along. So we got in. There's like 1 ghost that's like quite nearby, and we have been asked by the High Exorcist if we can find out any information about these. It will help because they have a later skirmish involved with killing them all. So we decided we're going to try and get this one guy and like get him off on his own, and we will try to incite him. And Beric walks up to him, starts to incite him, and the guy hits his shield and goes, curse. And then Beric looks to the ref nearby and goes, does that work through a shield? And he was like, yep, and hands him a curse. And we were like, well, good thing we have plenty of exorcists. Can somebody fix this? So I'm like there in silence going, fix him. So somebody else comes over, does a quick exorcism on him, and then we continue to try and do this in the 1 goes. But we realize it's not going very well. I was like, we'll leave this, we'll come back later. I think he managed to get the insight off, whether it was there or later on, but he does manage to insight one of them, so we get some information. We find out that they're like nothing special. They're like a level 1 ghost or whatever the like categories are, so like they can be dealt with quite easily by people who are prepared for them. So at this point, it's like we can see this orc, which is what we're here to do. We're here to rescue some members of the Bloodwater Sept. Bloodwater Sept, something like that. We have to go and rescue these orcs. We don't know how many or where, but we can see one who's waving at us on the other side of a field full of ghosts. So we sneak all the way around like the far end of the field and get round to them. And a couple of times, a couple of ghosts start moving towards us. So me being the one in charge, I'm like signaling everyone to stop, stay still. And I like sneak to the other side of the ghost, get a little bit of distance, and start like shaking the noisemaker, which I'm like grasping in, like I've squeezed it between my arm and back of my shield. So I'm literally just like shaking my shield and it's rattling and the ghost starts moving towards me. And I would just do this and I would skirt back round in silence to get back to the group and we would keep moving on. We get to this orc and they're like, I'm not leaving without my friend. We're like, where the fuck's your friend? And they're like, somewhere in one of these other fields, like, fucking helpful.
Nice.
So we started having to like work our way through these various things, and every so often I'll break away to like distract one of the ghosts. And it's all going fine. We've had no major issues. Nobody has been attacked other than that one bit at the start. And then we get through a couple of things, and there's at one point when Beric looks over and goes, hey, there's an axe on the ground over there. And we look over, there's a ghost maybe 10 feet away, and I'm like, do you really want to risk that? And he's like, nah. So we leave this axe, and we get into the field, we find the other orc, we start having to work our way back through. At this point, a lot of the ghosts have been like converging slowly, but they have been converging. So I need to make a big gap for people to get through. So I run off and I start trying to pull like 2 or 3 ghosts towards me to make a big gap. And in my head, I'm thinking, I know my route back. I'm going to get them over here and I'm going to move back this way. At this point, the ghosts have like stopped reacting to the shake or something. They're just going like, I'm like, what can I shout at these ghosts? Oi! Oi! I'm just like screaming oi at these ghosts, and they started coming towards me. And a couple of them do get close enough where I'm actually having to like dodge hits because they've like moved up on me that quick. But I look over thinking, there's my route back. And one of these guys, who was not in our brief, has wandered off, distracting another ghost, and pulled it directly in the line that I need to get back to the group.
Oh,
so I'm like
nice.
looking at this guy who is just fully not looking at me, and I'm like screaming, back over that way, back, like silently, not screaming, but just fucking get over there. And he's just not looking at me. So I'm like, ugh. So I had to pull the ghosts even further in one direction with them getting closer and closer to me. I'm going to point out, this was at like sunset. The sun is now like behind the trees. It's throwing these shadows. And like we've talked before about the immersion, this was creepy as hell because it was just silence. So I managed to eventually skirt my way back through and like get through a gap that I've now made between this other ghost and my group of ghosts, and I get back to the group, and we get back into the field where we can see the gate, and it's just full of ghosts. We're like, shit. So we're having to like weave and duck our way through. Near the gate, they've like converged in front of the gate, so people are literally having to dodge out of the way. The 2 young guys who I didn't recognize and whose names I didn't actually write down, both of them get hit and cursed, but they managed to get to the gate. I'm literally the last one out. I'm like directing people to go. I'm trying to move some of the ghosts away from the gate, and then I managed to get in. Now, technically, one of them did hit me, but he didn't call curse. So I was like, well, I think I've got away with that. And just like essentially rolled under his he hit me, and I just like rolled under him. But I look over and I thought they were out of the gate, but I'm now realizing this member of House Alien is actually still on the other side of the gate talking to one of these orcs. I'm like, what are you doing? Get out, get out, get out. And I watch the orc hand them something, and then they come through the gate, and this orc just stands there while the ghosts converge on them, and we all leave. Outside, as we're walking back, we find out that this orc didn't see the other one leave. They think their friend is still out there, even though they were the first one through the gate. And they were like, I'm not going without my friend. Here, take these as a gift. And I'm just like gave themselves up to the ghosts. And I was like, so this isn't even really our fault. This is because you're blind. Thanks.
Oh my God. I'd be fuming if that happened. If I was in charge of a skirmish and that happened, I would be fucking livid.
We were upset. Like, technically, this orc has died. We got one of them out, and it was like, well, we feel kind of bad. No, that wasn't the end of it. We then get out, and we're like all pulled into a group by the refs. And they're like, hey, did anyone come back with any magic items that they did not go out with? And Erickson pulls up his hand and goes, you mean like these? And they're like, excellent. Come here a second. And they pull him to the side.
I remember this.
While that happens, the two young lads who got cursed start like getting all like antsy, and they're like, "Oh, we can't be!" And they start like screaming something, and they both take off. And me and Emberic look at each other and just charge them down. He goes after the one who's farthest away. I cleave the leg of the second one and just scream, "Exercise him!" and start chasing after Emberic. And the two of us manage to get this other guy on the ground, and Emberic begins exercising him. As he's in the middle of doing this, Erickson comes up behind me and puts his arms around me, like around my shoulder. And first of all, it's like, oh, say, hey, are you okay if I'm like a bit touchy-feely? I was like, yeah, fucking go for it. And it's like, oh, I'm so glad you're here. I'm just so glad you were on that skirmish. Like, I don't go away from me. Like, do not leave me alone. I was like, oh, this is 50-50 just Erickson being Erickson, or it's a curse.
Oh, man.
And I was like, because he can be quite like, I'm so glad I had you there. You know, we would not be able to do that without you. Like, I need you by my side. He could be like that sometimes. Not as touchy-feely, but he will be that open. And I was like, Erickson, do we need to insight you? And he's like, no, don't worry about it. It's fine. And I just looked at it, and Emberic is like, Emberic, can you please fucking insight him? So Emberic gets up, and Erickson's like keeping me between him and Emberic. And I was like, no, you need to do that. Emberic's like, no, just come and talk to me. And he convinces him to come around. And then just fucking throws him to the floor and starts like exercising him. And he gets through the whole exercise, because part of the thing with these blind ghosts is they have to have like a bright light. So luckily, some like Flint and Barrick both had their lanterns on their belts, because their whole Solrene's whole thing is like taking the light into different places. So they're holding this light up to these guys' eyes, and the two other guys get exercised fine. No issue. Erickson, the exorcism doesn't seem to take. And people are like, is the light not bright enough? Do we need a brighter torch? And then the older cat B who came on with us is like, oh, does he still have those 2 items I gave him? I was like, fucking what? I was like, check his pockets. So we turn out his pouch and he has the 2 cursed items still on him. And then Beric immediately is like, do not touch them. And then it throws like a bit of cloth over them and wraps them up in the cloth, and it has to do the exorcism again. And this time it works.
Oh,
apparently,
my God.
apparently this priest found these things in the field, pointed to them, was like, hey, should we take those? And Erickson was like, all right, I just puts them in his pockets.
Oh, God.
So while this is all going on, I can't remember if it was like right when we came through the gate or afterwards, but it's about this, like it's somewhere around here that people who were on the Rod and Shield skirmish.
We lost him. Or we lost
I'm fine.
Me.
No.
I'm here. Oh, no, we've got him back.
Yeah,
okay, good.
You're good. Restart that, Jordan.
Oh, okay. Well, it was about this time. I don't know if it was like right as we came through the gate or it was about this time, but it was like when we were still in front of the Sentinel gate, some of the people who were on the Rod and Shield skirmish come off and they look pissed. And I'm like, what the fuck happened? And I can't remember who it was broke the news to me. It might have been Lord Morgan.
You lost 5, right, on that one?
7, technically.
7.
7 died, all members of the Lance. Now, I said 5 at the time because whoever it was told me didn't realize that the 2 who had died were like joining the Lance that summit. So technically it was 5 that we knew and 2
That
like,
just
was
frozen
not
again.
great. No, it wasn't good. I'll let
It's
you talk
frozen
about that
again.
because I wasn't on the skirmish, but all of a sudden, like a bunch of people from our Lance were like running around, like screaming and stuff. So I'm like, oh, well, shit. He's probably not going to want to, but I did agree to be like a big voice for Cian at this point as part of like finishing his test. So I like run to try and find Cian because I meant to be doing an announcement for him in the Glory Square. And I'm like, hey, I just heard the news. Are you still wanting to do this? And he was like, no. At which point somebody else comes running up and I was like, by the way, 2 members of your house are trying to suicide mission onto a skirmish. You might want to go and stop them.
Oh.
So all of House Carleon begins sprinting to the gate.
I had a really nice espresso martini in my hand, which I then had to throw in the air because of this.
Yeah. So
I also didn't have a sword.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So we end up with a fun bunch of people are like in and around camp. Everyone's like, at this point, some of the guys who died rock up and was like, hey, we've not met before. Can I introduce you to this person who's just arrived in Anvil? I died. Like, the best I could muster. Like I felt really bad from the best I could muster because it was it was like the 2 guys that I had like convinced to join the Lance at E4. And of the, I can tell you right now, of the 5 votes I got at the Lance Captain's meeting, 4 of them are now dead.
Oh, nice. Nice.
So they come up to me and I'm like the best I can muster for all of these guys who like I see we've all been like building these lovely relationships. So it's like they've been exchanging favors and like they've been helping me on their tests and I've been helping me on my test. I've been helping them out. And the best I can muster was, you fucking dicks. Like, what the fuck were you doing?
Fucking hell.
But we will go into that skirmish on my recap.
Yes, we'll let you talk about it because you were there.
Yeah.
So while this all happened, and we're like hugging each other, and like, I'm really fucking sorry, mate, but also, what the fuck were you doing? And it's like having this really sad moment. Fucking Silgor walks up and is just like playing in the middle of the crossroads in front of the Emerald Emporium, or in front of our camp. And I can't remember which member of the Lance he was talking to, but he was talking to somebody from the Lance. So I just came over and was like talking to them, and I was like, oh, I think I've heard of you. You're Silgor. I've not had a chance to see you before yet. Oh, see, I listened to you and told it on repeat on the drive to the summit. I was like, oh, that's lovely. Thanks. And he was like, yeah, I'm just trying to gauge. And he was just like strumming like random bits. He was like, I'm just trying to gauge the vibe. And I was like, oh, well, you know, seven members of our Lance literally just died. And he looked at his 3 bandmates, his big boys, and was like, I know we should play. And he starts playing What's a Curse Between, What's a Curse Between Lovers and Friends, or just
and Friends, yeah.
So He just stands in the middle of the crossroads and plays this, and like a bunch of the Lance come out and watch him. And Calm, who plays Erlen Chanter Perrin, who does play the character as a bit of a dick, like comes over and like stands next to me and like under his breath says, I had to be very careful not to get starry-eyed here. I love him. And it was just this beautiful moment, like everyone's like processing the grief I see, and like obviously OC dealing with the fact they'd lost a character. And Silver's just like stood playing one of his like very, very like melodramatic songs. And it was this lovely moment. And I was like, this is the sort of shit I love about this event.
For fuck's sake, Morgan and Kane. You made me miss this.
Yes, I was about to say that made you miss Silgor. And he played the song, and then he chatted for a bit. I gave him like a few rings that I had in my pocket because I had so little money at this point, and was like, "No, thank you for doing that." I think we needed that here. And then they just like went. I think they chatted for a few people, and then they wandered off. But yeah, that was it was very nice. I think at this point, I just stayed in camp for a while. And we talked with different people, just like sort of talking to people who like lost the character, and just like chatting to other people, like telling other people who didn't know the news yet, and like breaking that to people. And then eventually, you guys came back, and it should be noted again. I'll let you go into more detail, but just because it sort of affected what was going on in camp, our new lance captain Leoric, who was voted in. I actually just realized, I don't think I said that earlier, but like it was quite a close vote between Leoric and Dorian. I don't ever think I actually said who won. It was Leoric.
Yeah.
He was leading the rod and shield skirmish in the fields. And
No, he wasn't.
Was he not?
No. The head of the Rod and Shield, the Grandmaster Rod and Shield, was actually leading it. And that's where issues came. But we will talk about that more.
I was told that he was essentially field command.
That's the problem. He was kind of, but also kind of not.
Right. Well, either way, he took it very personally that people had lost their characters. And, like, understandably, a bunch of people, me and Dorian included, who have just lost the vote to him, were like, does anyone know where he is and how he's, like, OC, how he's doing? Because we'd like to give him a fucking hard time for this. And people were like, oh, no, he's a god. Like, he's having a breather. Like, and we're like, maybe we won't then.
Do it at E3.
Yeah. No, we've already told him, like, once he's, he talked to the people and everything's fine, but it was just like, at the time, it was like, I mean, I kind of want to give him a hard time, IC, but obviously OC, but don't want to make him actually feel like shit, so we'll hold off for a minute.
Don't do it in front. Actually, no, do it in front of Hadrian.
Yeah. Actually, to be fair, that is one thing, because I did, after all of this, it's sort of like, everyone had calmed down. Brad came back and he was feeling a bit, he wasn't feeling as awful. I did turn to him and said, we're going to fucking tear you apart for this in the podcast. So here you go, Brad. I'm being very kind. I'll let Cian tear you apart.
No. I have issues with other people, but anyways, continue.
Yeah. But yeah, I think at this point, a lot of people were just like, we need to go for a drink. And a bunch of us went to the pub. This is about when we ran into you, I think, Dad, in the pub.
Yeah. Were you guys arm wrestling at some point?
My next point is arm wrestling.
Yeah, fair. Sorry, spoilers. That's the only fucking thing I remember from that night is I bumped into the both of you. We did our whole yay, and then I was talking to someone, turned around, and then just saw like a clash of titans on this table where you were like, oh, let's go, and people were like chanting and shit. It was so good.
There was the one, because it was mostly Cian kicking the shit out of people, not Cian.
Yeah.
Kane kicking the shit out of people.
Yeah.
That man is fucking strong.
He's very strong. And then we had
fucking hell.
Then the big Navari lad came in, like big bushy ginger beard. Yeah. And the two of them went at it, and that one ended up in a draw. Like it went on for a solid 5 minutes. We're like, right, fucking guys, we're bored. Fucking stop.
Well, also, hey, don't break the table.
We legitimately put dents in it, but I cut that bit.
No, we didn't. Don't say that. We want to get back in Wise Guys next time.
But at this point, knowing full well that Kane was exhausted, I was like, hey, arm wrestle me, because it's the only way I'm going to win. And I was like, okay, but we have to do it left-handed. I was like, shit. So he proceeded to beat me left-handed, and I was like, it's only fair that we do it right-handed now. And he was like, you know what you're doing. He's like, yes, I do. You're exhausted. This is the only way I'm going to win. So that's my claim to fame for the weekend. Beat him in an arm wrestle.
Yay.
But it was about this time. I think we'd done the arm wrestle. We're settled down for a drink. And next thing, Florian from the Emerald Lands comes running in, sees a bunch of us, grabs me because I'm the one sat nearest the door, goes, something happened to Burnell. And I immediately am like, what the fuck has happened to Burnell? It's like, oh, he's like face down in the street. I was like, fucking what? And rush outside. It was only when I got outside, they're like, oh, I think he's just sleeping though. And I'm like, what? And we get outside and it's, who all was there? It was Burnell, Perrin, and there was somebody else there. I think it might have been Lord Morgan DeVere. I think it might have been the other one there. And Brunel was just like face down on the ground, like asleep. And we're like, what the fuck has happened? And Perrin was like, oh, I gave him a new drug to try. I'm like, fuck's sake, Perrin. Because this is Brunel, who plays the Bearer of Dawn when they do the Hunkeling. And his whole thing is he's very timid until somebody gives him some drugs to rip, and then he goes into bear form. So Perrin is usually the one who gives him drugs, but Perrin also just sort of uses him as a guinea pig. So like this was like some like I don't know if it's like a new drug or was just a drug that he'd not taken before. But essentially, it causes him to pass out and gives him horrific visions. So then Brunel like wakes up and it's just like, why did you do that to me? And he's like, tell me what happened. And he like, explains, it was like, I saw these horrific visions. I was like, this was awful. Why did you make me do that? And he's like, I need to write this down or whatever it was. And Perrin like storms off, but he's like pushed his bottle of wine into Brunel's hand, who I've been absolutely loving Brunel's character development. So Dylan, if you're watching this, I have absolutely loved watching Brunel develop. He's started out as a really timid character who's like constantly building himself up and becoming more confident in himself. He looks at the bottle of wine. He looks at the back of Perrin. And he reaches over and begins to empty this half-full bottle of wine into the glory square, which we found out after the fact was quite an expensive bottle of wine. And I'm like trying to dive over and grab the wine, if only because I'll drink it, don't pour it out. So he empties the bottle of wine, and then Perrin comes back over. He's like, what happened to my wine? He's like, I don't know. But like, Dylan is so good at playing Brunel, and he is visibly distraught. And he's like, I want to go back to camp. I said, no, tell me. I was like, I want to go back to camp. So I like put my arm around him, and I walk him back to camp, like asking her, is he okay? He's like, I just want to be back at camp. So I like take him back to the Sol Rene camp, and I was like, just to let you guys know, Perrin gave him some drugs, and he did not have a good time. And they're all like, oh, for fuck's sake. Oh, and then I went back to the pub.
Nice.
So I think from that point on, yeah, we pretty much spent the rest of the evening in the pub. Was it the Friday night we found that like just crazy old man? Is that the Friday or Saturday?
Yeah.
Just
we're not going to be mean.
Before we move on, that Friday night at Wise Guys, the people who were drinking there drank every bit of lager beer. Like, they cleared Wise Guys on Friday night. There was no beer left for the rest of the weekend.
That ran
Wise
out.
Guys.
I didn't know that. I didn't know it was Friday because I knew it happened on Sunday. I didn't know it happened on Friday.
Yeah. They took 4, maybe 5 or 6 kegs, full kegs, and it was cleared Friday night.
Yeah. And do you know what's bad? We weren't drinking that stuff. I brought 2 things of cocktails to Wise Guys.
Mm-hmm. And like, I had a few beers with Wise Guys, but
that means everyone else drank so much fucking much.
Yeah. But yeah, so I say crazy about it in that it was just so funny. He was at the bar with me, and I like bought him a drink, and he just came and sat down with us, and it was just the most mad conversations for like the next hour. It was like everyone was so tired and pissed, and it was like everyone was just like, I don't know what we're talking about now. And I don't think we went back to the camp until like 1:30, 2 o'clock. The only fire that was still going was the Sol Rene fire, and it was me, you, and who else just sat at the Sol Rene fire until 2 a.m.
Was it Lloyd?
It might have been.
Or Val?
Yeah, it might have been. We just I know there was 3 of us at least, and we just sat at the fire until like 2 or 3 a.m. and then went to bed.
I didn't know I stayed up that late.
Oh no, it was 3. I checked my clock when I went in. It was 3 a.m. that we went to bed. So that was
was it? Yeah, that explains why Lloyd like slept for 5 hours the next day. Jesus Christ.
So bearing in mind, that's like the main things throughout the day. Like other little bits have happened. Like I said, when we started the episode, one of our friends started playing, and he's like joined our friends in like the House Tonberry group. And like we had I was like, hey, like if you want to, we can we have a bit of backstory with our characters. Like it'd be quite funny if you were like one of the few people who actually knew Alrayus from before he went missing, because that means it's like you're one of the few people outside of House de Veer who knew me from like a decade ago. And we said, oh yeah, well, we could be literal cousins. So he essentially sends me a letter in downtime to be like, hey cousin, I hear you've returned from your 10-year disappearance. What's up? And I was like, oh, it's been a whirlwind. Like I'm really sorry, I haven't had a chance to reach out to everyone. And then like it was Lou's character Sebastian like drags him into our like I think she dragged him, or I think they dragged him into the camp and was like, my new friend here, Thomas, was just telling me that he has a cousin called Alrayus. I was like, I know an Alrayus. I was like, I asked him, is he the Alrayus with the antlers? And he was like, well, I don't think he has antlers. And I was like, well, mate, I don't know too many Alrayus, so I thought we'd introduce. I was like, cousin, I'm really sorry. I'm really fucking busy. Can I catch up with you later? And then had to like charge off because I was still trying to find the fucking exorcists for this skirmish. So anyway, that was Friday. Saturday, we went berry picking in the morning. It was great fun. I'll not go into too much detail. I think we'll roll this into like the battle conversation we'll have. But like, I went as an archer, which was really fun. I borrowed Harrison's bow. I had such good crack. I'm really excited to talk about that because it was such a fun time. Came back, watched some of the KP tournament again, and that was quite fun because there was clearly a girl there with like a group of other girls, and she was like clearly the experience. Like I don't know how many times she had been, but she'd clearly been to at least a couple of events because she's trying to explain what the fuck is happening. And I'm like, oh, do you know about this? Oh, little one's coming in. They're the trying to explain this. So I think Lena's like, oh, do you know about this? And like, this is the this is the reason they do this, and this is how it works. And it was just very fun, like getting to be the guy who stands there and like explains how shit works, and to be like, oh,
it's really fun to do that.
Yeah. And just getting a chance to like, explain to people who are new to Anvil and be like, oh, well, this is what the KP tournament's for. This is how it generally works, and this is how it used to work, and this is why they had to change the rules. Ridian. And just like getting to talk, that was quite fun. Just getting to be that guy like in characters. That was quite funny.
So I just on the KP tournament, I was trying to find you, and I walked the Glory Square like twice.
I mean, I was literally stood on the corner.
Well, I couldn't find you, but all I saw was just a load of fucking Dornish people like amping them up for some like themselves up. I had no idea why. Just everyone in full clan going, oh, we're gonna fucking like run. I was like, Jesus Christ, guys, do you want to calm down?
If you were there before it started, I don't think I got there for the start. I think I got there after it all kicked off because like I say, it's just watching a bunch of people stand around going, ugh.
But I didn't know what it was and just walked into Dawn and saw loads of people in full clank going, we're going to do this, it's going to be fine, in like groups of 5. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Is this just going to be like weird Dornish football or rugby? What is this fucking game, man? Like, what are these guys doing?
It's a Dornish election.
Yeah, it's Dawn. That's how we elect things. We fight. But, so, I have another skirmish I'm going to be doing in the evening. This was one that our Lord Morgan de Vere, has asked me to help with because it's being run by I think it's the head of the Historical Research Institute Society, whatever it is. His name's Watt. And in character, Lord Morgan he's a marcher. That explains the name. But Lord Morgan is very good friends with him, I see. And he was like, we have this skirmish. I don't know how many people we're going to have. You know, your proxy to the Strategos, would you try and help me find some people? I was like, yeah, no problem. I'll come on the skirmish. I'll help find some people, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, I'd agreed to all of this before the schedule came out. And it's the same thing happened to you earlier. He'll pop back in. It's fine.
Cool.
Before the schedule came out, and then when the schedule comes out, we're like, oh, this is happening the same fucking time as the Manticore tournament. Great. So that's going to be the two big tournaments of the last 2 events that I'm going to miss. But Lord Morgan was like apologetic. I was like, look, I've already agreed. Like, I see my character's not the type to like go back on his word, especially about some of the guests where the whole point of this skirmish is to rescue somebody. I'm like, I would still do this. But getting other Dornish people to help may be a problem because they're all going to want to be at the fucking tournament.
What? No. Dornish people wanting to go fight a fucking monster for the glory of Dawn? Oh, no.
I managed to scrape together a handful of people. I managed to convince 2 of the members of the Order of Birdsong. Again, thank you guys so much for coming along to do that. Gwyn, who's sort of leading the Order at the minute, wanted to get one of their new players as much experience on the field as possible. And obviously the Manticore tournament would have been cool to go to, but they didn't have as much context. So we're like, we can do the skirmish, it's fine. Jack, who was previously Percival, and I do apologize because I can't remember your next character's name off the top of my head.
Godfrey.
Godfrey
of House Carleon.
He said he would come along, and Earl Dorian, because he had no interest in the Manticore tournament. So I have the 5 of us. We get there. 5? Yeah, 5 of us. You're back, we know.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, and I was going to say something to make sure.
It's still going.
Yeah, we're good. I'll press the button.
But
I walked in and just Amy was like, "I know, I'm so sorry." I was like, "What the fuck?" All good.
But so we have these people, and we think, we haven't had a chance to. Oh, I also ended up while we were looking for people, Earl Enchantress Enchanter Vesper, who was the one who led the Coven team at the Botha, the previous tourney, and is one of the most well respected sort of summer mages in all of Dawn, has already come and speak to me.
I should write them a letter.
Yeah, they've already come to speak to me to be like, actually, I could pass a letter on of you because I'm meant to be writing them a letter at some point. But they came to speak to me because they were looking for in the camp for, I can't remember if it was me they were looking for or Erickson, but they knew that some of us were trying to help with this skirmish. So they came to speak to us. I got chatting to them. They said they have a couple of people they know what as well, so they're actually going to help with this as opposed to doing the Manticore tourney because they feel they owe it to him and all this. So it sounds like we've got a number of people. Whether or not it's the full number, we have a number of people. But again, so far I've only spoken to Vesper and I've literally not seen Morgan since I don't think I've seen him at all. I think I might have ran into him. No, I ran into him a couple of times during the day to be like, our Lord Morgan, not yours.
Yeah, I didn't know Lord Morgan was at the event.
Yeah. No, he was there.
I didn't even see him at all.
But I ran into him a couple of times. But hey, have you seen what? Do you know how many people he has? No, still no idea. So right, I'll try. I have 3. I'll try and get at least 5. So we end up going over. I do a quick debrief with the people that I've gathered to be like, here's what I know from the skirmish brief. We are going out to rescue a historian, a winter marker, who has gone to the Iron Confederacy to do some historical research on their religion. On the way back, he was being escorted by a load of knights. We received a letter from one of those knights to say that he had been kidnapped by cultists and that he would need to be rescued and that there may be knights who need rescued. I made the point of saying that the only information we have is from a letter. This has not come from our spy network. This has not come from a plenipotentiary or whatever. This has come from a letter from a member of the Iron Confederacy. So bear that in mind. It could be a trap of some sort. I think, knowing that we haven't had a chance to debrief as a group, that people are going to arrive at the gate early. So we get there far too early, half an hour early. And eventually, Watt turns up with Vesper and a bunch of marchers. Too many marchers. There are too many people. So we have a quick debrief. We're going through all the information again. And I keep trying to grab him. And again, I'm going to sound very annoyed because I say I was OC. It's game. I want to get this across. I'm not holding any grudges or anything, but I see I'm trying to catch Watt to be like, hey, here's who we've brought. Here's what we know. Can you fill us in? But every time somebody else turns up, he's running from person to person. I cannot pin him down. Eventually, it's okay, we have a big group meeting. And it's we've got you guys from Dawn. We've got you guys who have I've brought 2 physics who are shield users, myself and Godfrey who are shield users, and Earl Dorian who is an artisan, because we've been told if these are cultists, they're probably battle mages. So we're probably going to want somebody to be able to repair weapons. And the marchers have brought a bunch of pole arms and pikes and stuff. Vesper brought a couple of, I can't remember how many, but I think it was them and another couple of people were mages. And we have one other mage who could repair shit that was shattered. So we then start trying to form up, and initially people start shouting shields to the front, because that's generally the way you line up. Shields at the front, so the people with the big sticks can poke over the shields. But all of a sudden, several of the marchers start shouting, no, spears at the front, spears at the front. There's a load of confusion, because we have the guy who's actually organizing it shouting shields to the front, somebody else shouting spears to the front. People just start trying to move back and forward, and then eventually all the shields get pushed to the back, and they do a count, and there's literally no space for any of us. And then somebody else has to point out, we're trying to shout, we're the only physics you have. And they're trying to move through the gate at this point, and somebody starts shouting, grabs what, and says, no, you need to get rid of 2 of those spears, because we need the physics, and we need the artisan. I'm really sorry to, turn to me, me and Godfrey, I'm really sorry, you two, but, we'll make space for them, but we're not making space for another couple of shields. And I'm like, fuck me very much, but all right. So our 2 physics and Earl Dorian go on, and I have had conflicting information back from this skirmish, which I will go into in a minute. But depends who you ask, it either went really, really well, or was a shit show. So at this point, Lord Morgan also steps out as well, because he's I'm not even really a battle mage, and there was already too many people, so I'm just gonna step out. So it's me, Jack, Godfrey, and Lord Morgan who are well, guess we're going to the Manticore tournament. So bearing in mind, we were due to leave at like 8:30, which is like when the Manticore tournament was like scheduled to begin. But like everyone was like, "Oh, it's going to start at like 8:00." I was like, "Guys, the information said that the Manticore's not even going to arrive until 8:30. Like this fighting starts at like 9:00." Bearing in mind, we had this whole palaver at the gate, and we walked to the other side of Anvil, and the tournament has still not started. But
it took so long.
Yeah, well, it was going to. But anyway, we get there. The place is fucking packed. Like, the best we can see is a bunch of fucking, like, spears over people's heads. We're like, we're not getting close enough to fucking watch this. And even if we did, it's just going to be a press of people. It all starts. There's, like, people selling shit. There's people singing songs. It's all a right laugh, but we're, like, stood way at the back. I'm in full clank, by the way. I'm wearing, like, 16 kilos of armor. It was fucking hot. And I just started, like, taking all of my plate off and just, like, throwing it at my feet. And we, like, watch a bit of the fight. And within fucking minutes of it starting, the fucking Manticore is dead and is pulled out and dropped 5 feet away from us. And all his, like, retainers are, like, stood around him. And I look at Morgan, who's, like, staring at the Manticore. I'm like, what are you thinking? And he's like, do you reckon we'd be arrested if we attacked his retainers? I'm like, fucking why? And he's like, because he's bound to have some cool shit in his pockets. And I'm like, well, technically, they are still members of the Empire, so it technically would be illegal. He's like, yeah, but what if I just started rifling his pockets and then they attacked us? Then it's self-defense. And I'm like, at that point, it just depends on how many people back us up. So, bear in mind, Manticore's dead. Tournament's still ongoing. Actually, for people who are listening to this who maybe don't know what this fucking tournament was, which is most people outside of Dawn, essentially, there's been a long ongoing plot thing about this Manticore, which is a monster, which was made an earl by one of the previous kings. We talked about him in the last recording, or the last recap, because he was Penny the White. He was the one who was whispered, serving cunt. But he made this Manticore an earl. And nobody heard of Manticore for 100 years until we like got into his grove in the Barrens. And all of a sudden, this Manticore is like, oh, Dawn still exists as a nation? Cool. I'm an earl. Treat me like one. And this has been like an ongoing thing for like a number of summits. And now it finally came to a head because the earl was like, oh, well, nobody currently wears the crown of Dawn, so I'm going to challenge for the crown of Dawn. Your the throne, the emperor must now challenge, or I will become the king of Dawn. Now, legally, that was never going to happen because it would then have to be like ratified by the assembly, which they were not going to put a monster on the throne. But it was likely going to cause a civil war within Dawn because there were a handful of houses that did support him. So at this point, Vesna was like, fuck that noise, I will challenge for the throne. And there's a whole bunch of other drama that went on with this that I'm not going to touch too much on because it's other people's stories. But there was a lot of stuff that we heard about that was like, well, why didn't you challenge? And it's like, well, because you wrote me a letter saying that none of the earls wanted me. And then every earl looking at that person going, you did what? So bottom line is, this tournament was to determine who would wear the crown of Dawn. And the three options were, you could either fight in support of Vesna, because Vesna themselves could not compete, because this was a Dawnish tournament and only nobles of Dawn could compete. So you could fight on their behalf, but they could not fight. You could fight on behalf of the Manticore, which I know a handful of people, just for shits and giggles, black knighted so that they could do it, because then nobody knows who they are. Or you could fight for neither. If you fought on that side, essentially you decided that none of these people are worthy of the crown of Dawn, and I will fight so that neither of them get the crown.
That's not the argument fully.
There's more nuance to it. There is more nuance.
Yeah, it's more of, we need to put up a good challenge.
Yes. I mean, there were a few people who were of the opinion that they didn't want anyone on the throne.
True.
But ultimately, there has to be, it's a challenge, so there has to be a challenge. Otherwise, it's not worth doing. It should be noted, Vesna is, I think, the first PC emperor to take the challenge. There have been like others in the history, but they were all NPCs. And some thrones have taken the challenge and won, some have taken the challenge and lost, and quite a number just don't bother doing it.
But all of this will be discussed on a later episode when we get the challenger in waiting.
Yes.
Lord Decimus the Bastion.
Yes, who had to organize.
As soon as we have some Navari on, so Dan doesn't kill us.
So we will have him on. He will explain that role in full, but he is the challenger in waiting. It's his job to make sure that the throne can challenge for the crown and that there is a challenge, or at least one of their jobs.
That job.
Mm-hmm.
He still has that job.
Yeah, he still has the job technically. But so bottom line is, what everyone kind of knew was going to happen was that the two sides that were pro-throne and anti-everyone both immediately turned on the Manticore and were like, yeah, but fuck this guy in particular, and just straight up fucking killed him. He was, I think it was like maybe 2 minutes he survived. So anyway, you're on mute, I think, or you've done something to your mic.
Yeah, it wasn't even that long because I'll only say it briefly because we've talked a lot about the Manticore here, so I won't. I'm going to
bring it up in game. I was actually fighting it.
So all I did was stand on the sideline with the Navari, just chanting and cheering to get the thing fucking going because we'd been stood there half an hour in the heat.
Yeah.
And then when it finally started, we were like, yes, let's go. And then a minute and a half later, the Manticore dropped, and we all just kind of went, what the fuck was that? So literally, like, you just saw about 20 to 30 Navari just turn and fucking walk off away from the arena while the fight was still going. It was
the real fight was between the pro-Vesna and anti-Vesna sides.
Yeah.
That was the real fight.
There was a whole lot
that was intense.
Yeah, there was a whole lot of political drama as well because one of the ways to essentially the Manticore's sting could turn you into a puppet, like a vassal of his. And they found there's two ways to get around this. One is by like a dose of True Liao, which is expensive but doable. The other was to be excommunicated from the Empire so that and have your soul put in a jar essentially so that he couldn't take control of it. So apparently on that day, Dawn accounted for, I think, the majority of all exorcisms in the history of the game. Or not exorcisms, excommunications. And then there was a big like PSA after the fact to be like, hey, please everyone remember, go and get your soul put back in.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I'd lost my way a bit.
But what was even funnier was people forgot that doing things like this to the general of an army has like impact on the army. And obviously the army are all like NPCs, they're not played by characters. But when the generals were there doing their military orders on Sunday for like the downtime, like several of them, like the Dawnish ones were like, oh, and by the way, if at like, 3 p.m. on Saturday, you felt a sudden sense of impending doom, sorry, my bad. So anyway, I've also realized I skipped a bunch because I was talking about the historian skirmish and like getting into that a little bit. But I need to jump back because in the afternoon, after I was like running around looking for people, Brynwolf had asked me to come and be a part of one of his skirmishes.
Yeah, let's talk about that because that was fucking funny.
Yes,
that
so
was
from my point of view,
funniest thing I've ever experienced at LARP. It was so funny that I couldn't even fucking fight. It was fucking hilarious.
So from my point of view, what happened was Brynwolf had come to me and I'd like mentioned about my test of metal and like how I need to write my story through deeds that I could then use to like help me do this ritual like down the line. So he knew about this. I was like, oh, I have a thing you can help me with. I can give you some resources in exchange by way of thanks. Really simple job, just a bodyguard mission. We're going to go onto the field and all we have to do is protect the field commander to stand next to him. I'm going to have a couple of guys who are going to go out and like do some looting and stuff. So any extra bits we can get you some of that. But that's the job, just protecting him. So I went out in full fucking clank thinking, oh, it's just a protection job. We get in the field, and I'm not joking, within seconds of getting through the gate, the guy we're bodyguarding begins sprinting across the field. He's an archer, but he still wants to be within 10 yards of every orc. I just looked at Dan and was like, I'll kill you. And just started sprinting after this guy. Because again, I do take the job seriously. Like, I follow this guy around the field, and there's a number of times that he just starts like walking towards orcs with nothing but a bow and arrow, and I'm just like moving in front of him and being like, nope. I'm just like standing in front of him so the orcs can't get to him. This was the big field.
Yeah, it wasn't like
Cian,
a small
this
skirmish.
Was the big field.
It was the battlefield. The big fucking battlefield.
It looked like we were going to contain it to like just the end with the gate. But then we realized the whole point is we're trying to stop these like elite people who are just ignoring the battle and essentially treating the other orcs as chaff. And they're making their way to this like thing on the other side of the field. Like, we need to chase them. And I'm like, do we fuck? And he fucking starts He starts sprinting after them. I'm not joking when I tell you, I sprinted the full length of that field in full, like 16 kilos of clank, one end to the other. And
then
we get to the far end. There's like one orc left who I'm not joking. I don't know if this was just like the skirmish team taking the piss or something. We hit this orc, but between four of us, we hit this orc no fewer than like 20 times. And he still never like fell down on the ground. He fell to his knees. And people were just like, oh, we should somebody check his pockets. And he was like, are you sure you've got time for that? And we're like, what the fuck do you... We look over and there's people at the center of the gate fucking waving at us. And we're like, oh, you bitch. And we turn around and we can just about hear now somebody screaming 2 minutes on the far side of the fucking field.
Yeah.
So I start shouting. So the guy that we're bodyguarding at this point is like, he's like checking another body like a good 30, 40 feet away. So I just start shouting at him. I was like, get back to the fucking gate. And we start again sprinting back across the field. And then we get to the gate and he's like, everyone go through it. I'm going to be the last one through it. And I turn to him and go, I promised your second in command outside that I would make sure you're through the gate. I just like grabbed him and pushed him in front of me. It was like, you're going out first. And just like pushed him through the gate.
It was the funniest fucking thing. I will talk about it now because rather than me talking about it again on mine.
Oh no, I want to hear from your perspective because this is just from my perspective. I came off and I was like red in the face. I was coated in sweat and I was like, I'm going to kill you. Yeah. I was this close to cleaving your leg and leaving you on the far side of the gate.
Let's leave some tension because there could be a week between these episodes. So it
was really, really funny. I'll tell you it from my point of view. But Jordan did all the running. I came off with bank.
To be fair, you did give me quite a few resources.
I did, yeah.
I don't know if you realized.
Did
you realize you gave me a winter viz?
Yeah.
Which is expensive.
Yeah.
Which has actually worked out great because I can trade that for a golden apple, which is the summer viz, which is like gives me a bonus when casting the ritual into cast. So it's actually worked out quite well.
Yes.
Cough, Dr. Carleone, cough.
I need to do something to get them.
I found it really fucking funny, but I did feel bad.
I was fucked.
I did feel bad, but I found it very, very funny. But I'll tell you from my perspective.
Yeah, you tell us in your episode.
On my episode, because that was fucking funny.
So then I went back to camp. It was about this time that because I realized whenever I'd done like the berry picking, monstering, I had like picked up a couple, like I had lost the arrow that they had given me, but I had picked up a couple of extra ones. Like, oh, I brought you back an extra arrow. And he's like, oh, did you not see the bins? And I was like, what bins? It's like, oh, you can't just like bring random arrows off the field. You have to put them in bins and you collect them later on. I was like, oh, where's the nearest bin going to be now? And he's like, God. I was like, fuck. So I had to walk these arrows back to God, but I had lunch at this point, so that was nice. So that's another PSA for folks. If you're doing archery and you pick up a load of fucking arrows in the field at the end of the battle, there's a bin for them. Don't take them with you. I think it was at this point. Was it now or later on? I think it was now. But Erickson came over and he had got a magic item prepared for me. He gave me a gift. It was a trinket, but he didn't realize it was supposed to be on my shield. But he gave me a pilgrim shield, and I was like, "Oh, this would be great if I had been dedicated yet." Because I've been trying to tie down Emberic since like time in the day before to be like, hey, obviously known you guys for a while, we love listening to your show. I would love to get a Emberic dedication. So thankfully he was quite busy, but between then and the next skirmish that I was meant to be on, I did manage to grab him and he did manage to give me like a lovely dedication to ambition. So I am now dedicated to ambition.
Yay! Ooh. It's good for some.
Yep. And I can now actually use the Pilgrim Shield, which gives me an extra hit, which was very nice. So thank you, Erickson. Thank you, Emberic, for the help. So
Charlie, if you're listening, we will. I'm just going to, next time I see you, I'm just going to go, no, now. Even if it's before time. No, actually, no, we can't do that. But yeah.
So obviously, in between all this, I did jump back and forth a little bit there, but in between all this, speak to Vesper, speak to a couple other people. This one, I just, once again, I think for the second time, having seen Bryn Wolf, he's like, oh, I'll just go and do this thing, then I'll come and see you at your camp. You don't fucking turn up. This is why I was in the camp and Vesper found me, because I was sat there fucking waiting for you.
Sorry, mate.
So anyway, I head out at this point. I can't remember what I was doing, but I was walking to, it was when we went to Minigod or Demigod to get my dedication recorded, and I ran into you. And you were like, oh, I'll go and do this. I was like, no, if you want to speak to my Earl, fucking wait here. Do not disappear again. Stand here. I will get you on the way back from Demigod. So I grabbed you because you wanted to come and tell my Earl how nice it was to see me fighting like a Navari in full fucking clank.
Yeah, that was really nice.
I'll let you go into more detail about that conversation. But throughout all of this, I have noticed that at this summit, for some reason, our Earl and Hadrian and a couple of other people are being really secretive. So there's a couple of times I've walked into camp and they've all been huddled together off on their own, talking to some other person I don't recognize. And then when you get too close, they'll stop and they'll watch you as you walk by until you're out of earshot, and then they'll continue again. And it was all very secretive, and I'm annoyed I was left out. But
on a OC level, I feel bad because like multiple times someone was like trying to have like join in a conversation, and I was just like, I'm really sorry, but actually
piss off.
This is private matter.
Yeah.
And there's certain people who's like, wanted to catch up. I mean, like, if we talk any bit, you're gonna cop what we're doing.
Yeah.
So shoot.
So anyway, that's just sort of happening in between all of this. Manticore tournament already discussed. At this point, come back to camp, and I run into. At this point, I'm like worried because I've not seen any of the people from the skirmish. Like, they're bound to have been done by now. And literally, as I'm thinking that, Dorian comes back into camp, and I'm like, "How did it go?" And he went, "Shit." I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Oh, we just killed a bunch of Iron Confederacy knights." And I'm like, "Fucking what?" So we were told, the letter we got was that this guy had been kidnapped by as cultists of this, essentially the devil of the Iron Confederacy's religion, Dumon. The Hand of Dumon is the name of this cult. And there should have been like a handful of like knights who were possibly injured or captured that we'd possibly be able to free as well. And he was like, nope, everyone there was a knight. The researcher seemed fine. He wasn't like about to be sacrificed. They were just taking him. And like, that was their job. They had to deliver him to this location. And when we turned up and said, hand him over, they're like, we can't do that because in the Iron Confederacy, if you fail to do your if you fail to follow your orders, they just kill you. And it's literally one of the things to be like, it's better to try and fail and die in the attempt than to fail because you will just be killed when you go home. So they're like trying to explain, like, we can't let you take him because we might as well die here because otherwise they'll just kill us at home. And strangely, they started screaming things, calling us like servants of Dumon and like they're calling us the Hand of Dumon. Now, not being there, I'm having to take all of this at Dorian's word. Because I spoke to Vesper afterwards, who was also Daunish, so I ran into them in Dawn, and they were like, oh no, it went fine. I was like, what do you mean it went fine? Dorian's told me you just killed a bunch of Iron Confederacy people. And they were like, oh, well, no, we're pretty sure they were like Hand of Dumon in disguise because they kept screaming about Dumon. And they're like, I think they were just, like, Dorian thinks they were just cursing us, like the equivalent of us being like, you work for Satan, you're Satan's servants, you're doing this and Satan's that sort of thing. So we kind of have to wait for the skirmish results to come out, but essentially they killed all these people, got to this winter marker story, and we're like, hey, you need to come back with us. He was like, nah, my work's not done. And apparently a bunch of people were just like, all right. And it took Earl Dorian being like, hold on, we do also need your research. Like, you could die tomorrow. We need to bring your research back because it will be a boon to the Empire. And he handed over the research. So at the very least, we got the research off of him. But it was also just like, yeah, we may have caused an international incident and killed a bunch of citizens of another empire.
Yeah, someone who was talking to the ambassadors of the Iron Confederacy on the bus to Empire. Yeah, we're fucked.
Well, apparently they were on the skirmish, and apparently the ambassadors also have the opinion that we killed a bunch of cultists. So
we're fucked if this does open up a forefront.
Yeah. So this is the thing. But I was 100% of the opinion that this was a trap, and I am, one way or another, vindicated.
Well, we will find out later when we do get the ambassador to the Iron Confederacy on the podcast.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, did I mention that we've set up an interview with them? Never mind.
We'll find see. So, I find out a bit about that. I speak to Vesper, and they're of the opinion that there was a bunch of cultists. So, like, I generally don't know because it seems that several people are of the opinion that we were in the right. Several people think that we fucked up. The annoying thing is because, like, everyone is dead, there's a very good chance that the result of this skirmish is going to come out as, like, unknown. And this may not, come out for a very, the results of this may not be known for a very long time.
I mean, if they killed them all, and it's only the historian that were left who took the research, yeah, it depends really, doesn't it? Because in the IC world, it's whether those bodies were found and...
Well, it's also whether it was actually members of the Iron Confederacy or not.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like if it was a bunch of cultists, we don't really have any way of confirming that. But if it was members of the Iron Confederacy, it's like, cool. Will they find the bodies? Will they track them down? Will this even be confirmed? So like, I would like to know one way or the other, because I would like to know if I was correct mostly.
Yeah. Fair.
And like everything, like what we do, like to find heresy and stuff, is using insight. But like the Iron Confederacy have their own religion. They don't follow the way.
Yeah.
So by like, if we incited them, we would just see, oh yeah, these guys are heretics.
No
matter what.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where like hindsight is like, 2020. I had things prepared. If I was on the skirmish, I had things that I was prepared, because we already have been warned there may be cultists in disguise as knights. So I had a question prepared, which was going to be, what was the name? I think is it a duke or a duchess or whatever it is the Iron Confederacy's nobility is. What was the name of the one who sent you? Because if they didn't know that, they weren't part of the knights who were sent with them. And that would have been like, but again, I don't know if that question was asked. I don't know what questions were asked because I wasn't there. So we'll have to wait and find out.
But you seem completely fine about it. And
not annoyed at all.
Yeah. There's no undertone at all that anyone's picking up there.
But again, this is like
OC,
about,
I
see
totally
OC.
I've
already messaged the fellow who plays what, and like we're gonna. I've already told him like, look, are you happy for me to exchange letters and be a bit pissy in the letters? Because like from what I've been told, it sounds like this was royally fucked. And he was like, yeah, no, fire away. So like OC, it's all been talked about. I 100% like have to be talking to Vesper in the future because I want to talk to them about the Charon's the Iron Duke ritual. Like, I'm not holding this against anyone because, like I say, this is why they design skirmishes like this, to cause plot. It causes game. But anyway, we're talked for long enough about that. So last thing on the Saturday, as usual, well, it wasn't even the last thing. My second to last thing was the Homecoming. Obviously, got to go see the Homecoming again. See, it was a good one. I'm not going into too much detail, just because obviously a few of the guys. Well, actually, I will say this much: Burnell didn't take part this year, I believe. I think it was just Flint and Emberic from the Lance.
Flint and Steel.
And this is. I think this is I don't know if it's the first time, but it was the first time I saw so much of it. We had actual kissing this time, and a lot of it. A lot of twinks kissing. So if that's your jam, guys, check out the Homecoming. But yeah, there was a lot of it this time. But I enjoyed it. I'll not talk too much about it because obviously I wouldn't do it justice, but it was very enjoyable. At this point, it was like, hey, I finally have some time. I'm going to call by House Tonberry and see if I can catch up with my cousin. He wasn't there.
Nice.
He did turn up, but I sat at their camp for a little bit. They had like s'mores and stuff, and we're catching up like I see. But there's one guy who's like curled up in a ball next to the fire, and I'm like, is he actually cold or is this like role playing? And he's like getting up, he's like pacing, and people are like, oh, if you're cold, sit by the fire. He's like, the fire's not helping. And then he eventually reveals that he was just involved in like a night ritual in the Regio, and he just is constantly cold now. And people are like, well, what would help? And he was like, oh, like sharing a story of loss. And I was like, oh, we did lose like a bunch of members of the Lance, and I've not really talked about it yet. I can talk about them if you want. And it came and like sat next to me by the fire. I had this like lovely role play moment where I got to talk about all these characters who've now like been lost to us. And I did find myself getting like legitimately like teary eyed talking about each of them. So like if any of you guys are listening, just know that I sat by the fire and like extolled the stories of your characters and what they meant to Alrayus, and legitimately made myself teary eyed. And apparently this was enough loss that the guys like stopped being cold. So that was good.
Nice. So their death wasn't in vain after all.
Yeah, some guys a bit warmer at that point.
Some chilly dude
yeah.
was fine after that story. Nice.
It just made for like a lovely roleplay because I do forget sometimes how easily I can like suck myself in with stuff like that, and I'm just like sat there like wiping tears away, and it's been like, oh, don't do this to me at this late at night. But because we are battling the next day, it was back to the camp where we had the Lance Captains meeting. Where we just ran through. At this point, Leoric Brad was back and he was running us through the plan. We found out that now we weren't just fighting as a lance, we were fighting as a wing. We were fighting alongside two other lances, the Ardent Lance, and knowingly, I cannot remember the name of the other lance now.
I was so tired that I may have been hallucinating for half of that.
Nice.
So I can't remember.
Well, we were now fighting as a wing. And what was very funny is the summit after standing down as Lance Captain, Percival was like, I'm now the wing commander. So it's like, he's still our boss.
Nice.
We're still not a noble.
No. So we're fighting as a wing. We've got 3 lances now, and my next claim to fame was I came up with the name for the wing because we were talking about like banners and colours and how to recognise each other in the field, and we realised that all 3, the lance banner, Stonecall's banner, and the house that leads the other lance's banner all had green in them. So I was like,
"Are you talking about Lysander?"
Sorry, Lysander, not Stonecall. Sorry, yeah, Lysander.
So yeah, House Lysander and Stonecall make up the
Ardent Lance.
Ardent Lance?
Yes.
Yeah.
But then there was this other lance that joined us, and the house that led that lance also have green in their banner. I don't know. I didn't recognize any of these people. I don't think I've interacted with any of them before, so I don't think they were like. I think they're known to certain people in the group, but not all of us.
Yeah.
But they also had green in their banner. And we're like, everyone's like pitching names, like people are making jokes. Well, surely the Emerald Wing makes sense if it's all green. And then I was like, well, why not the Verdant Wing? And we all had a kind of a moment.
You don't have to explain that to me.
Verdant just means like lush and green and growth.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, fair. That's
Yeah.
actually that's a good one. Yeah.
So we were the Verdant Wing. So we ended up fighting as a wing, and that was we kind of like talked at the plans and how we were going to fight, and it did take quite a long while to have the discussion. But we think all of the lance captains were introduced. I still don't think at this point that Leoric had decided we were going to have a third yet. He was still like working out what numbers we had, but it went from having like possibly 21 to, I'm not joking when I say the next day we had over 30 in the lance. And he was like, oh yeah, no, like as we were like prepping to go to the battle, he's like, we definitely did a third. Alrayus, you're the third. I was like, yes. And I was like, where do you
I asked Henry, could I be third? And I was told, and I wasn't picked as third.
Well, because I had the experience.
Yeah, fuck you.
But essentially, he wanted me, because obviously Leoric would be behind the back lines, and then Kenric would be like at the very back, sort of like giving directions to the back. So he wanted me on the shield wall, giving directions from there, which essentially was my excuse to put somebody loud in the front row and be like, form up here, shields up, move this way, charge, shit like that. So that was that night. I think we spent a lot of the time in the camp that evening. We sat and chatted. There was a lot of just like nice IC conversations. Perrin came and joined us. Lord Morgan rocked up at this point. You probably had gone to bed.
I'd gone to bed.
Yeah.
Because I was pretty much sober, and I was just going, I can see 2 of Leoric.
I'm just that tired.
Of bed. Yeah.
So we go to bed that night. Next morning, obviously, we're up. I'm not talking about the battle itself, but we had like the prep for the battle. I get told I'm going to be third. We get kitted up. We're like, I think one of the first large groups to actually make it to the Glory Square for the muster. So we all get formed up. And like as we're trying to, actually, the one very stupid thing I did was Erickson was doing his like magical like pre-battle concoctions, just like pre-workout like mixes. And he's like handing them out to people. I was like, oh, Joe, I'll have one. I'm Macker. And he's like, have you had these before? I was like, no, but if like I can manage, is like, I'm going to give you a half measure. If you come off the battlefield and your heart rate is still high, tell me. I was like, good to know. So he gives me this little cup half full of like powder. And then like, as we're stood in the Glory Square, he's told all of us like, do not take these until we're like waiting to go through the gate. So, but it just, what it then means is that we're all stood around holding little plastic cups.
Yeah.
So at one point, I was like trying to like fix my shield in my arm, so I needed both hands. So I hold the cup in my teeth, and then made the fucking mistake of breathing out through my nose. It just went poof straight into my eyes. I was like, oh, that's just what I want right before the battlefield.
Because it was salts as well. Like,
yeah, no, I know. It was like
nice.
salts and sugars and everything else. It was like, I'm still like rinsing my eyes out with my bottle of water, like fucking great. But then what was funny was we all get introduced to who's like field command for the day, who's going to be like our wing commander, and then it was like, right, the Ardent Lance is going to like lead us off, because the Egregore is now like stood outside of the Glory Square, like being like, come on, we need to move. Why is nobody moving? Hurry the fuck up. And we're like screaming at the Ardent Lance to get moving, and they're just like still getting ready. So then fucking Percival turns out, like, they had their chance. Take the fucking Emerald Lance first. So I get to be like, literally, it's like me and Leoric and Kenric are like right behind Viridian Durandal and the Egregore as we march up to the Sentinel Gate. So I got a lovely picture from Kreos where like as we arrive, the banner's like with us, so Mberic and was it Mberic's like Jim's partner, wasn't it? Was doing the banner?
Yeah, it's Kat who plays name? I'm forgetting.
I couldn't remember the IC name either, but they're like doing the banner, so they're like walking like next to us and like slightly behind us.
Did a great job.
Did a fantastic job. But what was funny is as they got to the gate, they clearly spotted Krios with the camera, and I watched as Jim like grabbed Cat and like pulled them just a little bit to the side of the line so that they had a nice clear photo opportunity. And I just looked at Jim and went, I fucking know what you're doing. And like at this point we've been told to stop, so I like stand next to him, I've got my fist in the air to be like halt, and like I can see Krios taking photos, so I like stand like that with the fist up. And Dorian is like girded as like the first Earl of his house, which was also very funny. So again, Dorian, Zeb, if you're listening, hilarious. But he's like there and he's like, why have you still got your arm raised? And I was like, there's this weird thing called a photographer over there. I'm trying to get a snazzy photo, and it's one of the ones that's on my Instagram currently. I think it's on the Teals Instagram as well, of me with like my fist in the air, and I was like commanding the whole procession to stop, which is very cool. And yeah, we're stood there waiting to go on the battlefield. We have the Navari next to us chanting glory, glory, Manticore. We have several of the Donish generals stood next to us, staring daggers at them. One being like, are they cheering for the Manticore? I'm like, no, listen to the end. They're taking the piss. And he's like, all right. And then we get to like head onto the battle. Another fantastic battle, absolutely exhausting. Really enjoyed it, especially getting to be third again and just like, getting to like, screen commands, but we'll talk about that in more detail. And we got back de-girded. I think a lot of my Sunday was just trying to like do the last couple of like conversations I hadn't had a chance to have. So like I'm talking to people in the camp. I had fully intended to take Felix, one of the members of House de Veer, who has been asked by Ericsson to act as essentially the seneschal to the Strategos. So it was his responsibility to like gather herbs and resources and money to help fund our skirmishes. So I was like, oh, well, obviously we met the Apothecaries Guild like head at the last event. Why don't I go and introduce you? So like literally one of the last things I did was trek over to the Apothecaries Guild to like introduce Felix to Esme, which was very cool. To set up like a nice little interaction for them. Just like the last thing I think was just talking to other people. And then one of my last interactions was wasn't my last interaction. We got to do my first Burnell ritual. I got to have my Feast of Heroes ritual cast by Burnell, which I think we've talked before about Burnell's rituals involving like food quite often, and this being a feast and has to have food. So he has this like, you'll be taking your first steps into your thing. So step, and we all have to like step, and he's like screaming like step again, faster, step, and we're like charging around.
You know how
the
that started?
I think
that started because Molly had gotten me cake for my birthday, and then never brought it out. So there was just a caterpillar cake in the tent.
So this was like E4 last year was the first time we saw him do this, which he had like all of these like earls gathered to cast the Cian ritual, and he's like making them like eat handfuls of cake. But for us, he's got these like covered plate. We've already seen what's under the plate. It's a bunch of chocolate muffins and like a big urn of water. So he has us like stepping, and like, no, drink, and he's like pouring water, drink, and he's like having us like chug these like things full of water, and he's like, and then we feast, and then it takes them off. And he's like, feast, eat. I'm not joking. I got so into it, I shoved almost this entire muffin into my mouth, like spitting bits of muffin. I near damn choked. Like I legitimately nearly choked. I had to turn around away from him, so it was just like spraying muffin. So yeah, Dylan, love that. Absolutely love that little ritual. It was absolutely fantastic. And then I think one of the last conversations I had before we started breaking down Camp OC was Earl Alistair coming up to me and being like, hey, I can't talk about a lot of this, but I just need you to know that you are my what was the term he used? Oh, what was it? Not inheritance. Not inheritance. What's the bloody word? You had to assign one.
But I called him a proxy.
Well, it wasn't a proxy, but essentially it's like he was like, if I die, you need to go and speak to these people and take up this task. I was like, fucking what? Yeah, I can't. This is all
we can't talk about.
Yeah, this is all I can tell you. If I die, you need to go and speak to these people and continue the work I'm doing. I'm like, but you're not allowed to die. So now I'm getting like a hint. And bear in mind, one of the three people who told me to go and speak to was Hadrian. So it's like, okay, well, this is clearly the secret shit you guys have been doing.
What? No, we did no secret shit.
Oh no, it doesn't sound like you did anything.
Better late than never. But speaking of secret shit, I'm going to end my recap with a retraction. I have been asked to give a retraction from our previous recap, where I mentioned finding Earl Alistair and Earl Perrin doing dodgy shit with the Reapers. I just have to say that they were not and have never done anything illegal to the Empire's knowledge.
Sorry, your Earl who was found guilty of treason at one point.
No. Jordan's just. I think if you were listening carefully, then Cian, Jordan very clearly said that they haven't done anything illegal.
What was very funny
within
was,
the Empire's knowledge.
Literally, I think it was that day. Was it that day or was it the day after the day of the Manticore tournament? Well, I did get to watch Earl Alistair being interrogated at one point, essentially being interrogated by members of the priesthood. Because, and he told me this quite openly after the fact, he was like, yeah, they were kind of worried because they knew I'd been doing some like dodgy stuff. And apparently, during the Manticore tournament, a bunch of people all around me kept getting cursed and they couldn't work out why. And they thought maybe I was the source of the curse. But it just so happened that they came to do this interrogation while he was on drugs.
Nice.
At least I'm pretty sure he told me he was still on drugs at that point, or he had taken drugs at some point over the weekend. And I don't know if they were illegal drugs, but I still don't think he was supposed to be on them. So yeah, there was very much like, oh yeah, there's technically one thing I did was illegal, but you already knew about that, and that's fine. They're like, all right. So I don't know what the actual outcome is. I don't know if they worked out why people were cursed. And I'm sure you'll tell me, Alex will tell me if I've said any of that wrong, and I can offer another retraction next time. But I just have to clarify, they were not.
I feel like there's going to be a reoccurring segment.
Yeah. They did not do anything illegal with the Reapers. Is all I've been told.
And as far as I know, he did nothing illegal at this event either.
As far as we know, he does often disappear for quite a long period of time, but. That is everything for my event. I had absolutely blast of a time. I did a lot of 2 skirmishes, me and battle, monstering, had a lot of fun on the field. I did end up getting to see bits of the tournament. I got to prevent one of the nobles of our house from inciting an incident by attacking a bunch of citizens.
Dedicated?
I get dedicated. Oh, I didn't mention the gift. Ericsson, our strategos, because I've been helping him out, because he's a member of our house, he came and brought... Oh, I did mention this. Yeah, no, I did, because he brought me the Pilgrim Shield, which only works because I'm dedicated. Yeah. So yeah, thank you as well to Ericsson for that. I have been trying to figure out a gift in return, but because of his loadout, he doesn't have hero points. So all of the items that don't cost materials require hero points to use, and he doesn't fucking have any. So it's and he doesn't have the shield skill, so I can't even give him Pilgrim Shield as a thing. So essentially, I'm just gonna get him a nice one, but I have to go and sort out resources to do it.
Fair. So I have a question.
Go on.
So
you do a question with a go to Patrick.
Yeah. So before E1 and E2, I distinctly remember you saying that you were going to make a lot more effort at this event to try to get over to Navarre.
I did
to do and sit at Songs and Stories and at least experience it. Did you have a chance to do that?
No, because I'm a liar.
Nice.
No, mostly because again, it's just another one of those things where it's I think the one time I had nearly time was when I stopped to talk to people at one of the skirmishes.
Yeah.
So it was just I kind of need this information. So
it's the same with me and Hunkerin, man. I keep saying, I'm going to come and see the Hunkerin, and then I look and it's 11:30, and I go, fuck. Yeah, I've missed it again.
So E3 is going to be interesting because, again, proxy to the Strategos, even without that, I do like going on certain skirmishes. I like helping out with that sort of shit. I like going to the military meetings and stuff. But E3 is the Glory Gala, which I've not been to before, but it's the big party in Dawn, the big summer party. I really want to go to that. It's 2 hours. It's 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. And prior to that, Felix from our house is organizing a soiree in the Lance camp, which is 6 till 8. And this was a task that was set to him by our Earl as a sort of I think it was set just after Sweet Days had happened to be hey, we could do something nice to look forward to. So can you organize this for next summer?
Nice. Fair. Well, that was my question, really.
Let's see. My question.
If we're just leaving.
Ooh. No, I'll be back in 2 seconds.
You don't have to make one up if you don't have one.
No. I will. How are you coming along on your test of metal?
So pretty good. So with fucking Dan's help of all people, after the fucking torture he put me through, because he gave me a winter viz, I can trade that quite easily for a summer viz, which would be the golden apple, which for my ritual, I need, because it'll be cast by people who have it mastered in the camp, I only do 15 mana, technically, and the golden apples count for 5. So between that, the like sort of other bits that I've earned through the other skirmishes and helping other people, like I've been gifted like a couple of bits of mana, I've been gifted like a couple of resources and coins. I'm pretty well on track. Like, unless something drastic happens, I'm hoping to be doing the ritual at spring next year. And that includes missing E4 this year.
I love how you worded that. I love how you worded that because of Dan of all people. Well, I look after my friends.
I wasn't expecting you to give me the thing that accounted for a third of the resources I need.
Well, what can I say, man? Like,
you got lucky with what you looted, is what you said.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. Yeah. And then I was like, well, I don't need this, so there you go.
But no, I'm missing E4 because I'm getting married in October, and while I could go and like not fight or anything, I can't really think of a reason why Alrayus would do that, other than being injured, in which case he wouldn't go to Anvil in the first place. Because E4 last year, I got struck down while wearing polyplate for monstering, and when I rolled on my back, it came up, caught me in the bottom of my lip, and smashed my lip into my teeth. So I had like split my lip open, and I was like, I can't really risk an injury that could take more than a few weeks to heal.
I mean, what you could do is say that you got injured at Anvil.
Oh, I can't do that. I'll consider.
Yeah, your missus is gonna hate me.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I will consider. It's gonna be quite close to the wedding, and we're gonna have shit to do. So I will probably still not make it.
Because you're gonna miss my birthday then.
Oh, because your birthday E4. Ah, boo.
Right, it is.
Yeah, my birthday September the 11th.
Don't laugh like that.
That's unlucky.
That's why. It's just any other day, you know.
Just any other day.
We all know why I laugh.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, unless you guys have any other questions, that was my summit. I had a great time. I'm already looking forward to E3, although I am trying to be much more conservative with my letters this time. I don't think I've mentioned this like in the Dawn Court. I don't know if I told you,
after
Dan.
every event.
No, I don't know how many. Do you know how many letters I sent pre E2? 34.
Do you know how many letters I sent?
3.
Big fat fucking goose egg.
I sent.
No, I sent. In fact, I sent 2, but on behalf of the Black Stripes.
Yeah, I sent
7 so far.
Yeah, I'm trying to be better. I'm going to like set aside and be like a Sunday or something and send a handful, but I'm not sending that many this time.
No.
Yeah. I guess how many replies I got?
4.
6. 8.
Yeah. See, that's the other side of it. Like, I'm all for doing that, but I also think I would rather. I think it takes away a lot, unless it's organizing of a meeting.
Yeah.
To then do the cool IC thing. If you're putting a lot of what you want to talk about in the letter already, I think it takes a lot away from the event itself.
There's some things you just don't have time to do at the event, and having that like set up, like having that starter of the conversation, so you can turn up and be like, "Cool, we don't have to like discuss the discussion; we can just do it."
Yeah.
Which is what I find it helps with. And like a lot of the letters I sent, I wasn't expecting a reply, but there were a handful I would have liked one. But we are. But to all of you who got a letter from me, yes, I'm talking about you. But you specifically, you listeners.
Look, thank you so much for recapping your E2 experience. You got up to. I'd like to say you got up to a lot. I'm trying to compare it to your recap of E1 this year, and it's very much on par.
It is on par. I think I did lose. I definitely lost a bit of time with the skirmish. I didn't get on and like organizing stuff for that. But obviously, from my organization, we still got 2 physics and Earl Joyner Artisan onto the skirmish, and the guy who I got onto the skirmish apparently was the one who rescued the research. So even though I didn't get to go on and it pissed me off, like, for a little while, I got over it. It's still like, it still accomplished something. So
I think did the right thing.
Yeah.
Just you didn't get your own personal glory.
Exactly.
Glory for the Empire.
Glory to the Empire. Yeah. And well, we'll see what the results of the skirmish are. It may not have been all that glorious. We're not sure yet.
Let's wrap that up there, because I'm just having a look and we're about nearly
I realized
the hour and 45 minutes. That's fine. I mean, what we might do is split this episode into 2 halves,
just put
just
off,
release it as the whole thing. But look, thank you everyone for tuning in, whether you're listening to us on podcast or whether you're watching us on YouTube. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please do all that fun stuff where if you haven't done yet, please subscribe, like this video or podcast episode, leave comments. Please, if you've caught Jordan out in some mad Empire loophole, please leave him like all sorts of abuse as long as you have done that.
Yeah.
As long as you have put the like on the video in the first place, otherwise we're not gonna retract it.
Also, just send him hate mail. Yeah.
I mean, as you know,
any
Jordan
letter.
likes letters. So
any letter.
Yeah. Just send him icy hate mail. Don't need to attach it. If you want, send it to me and I'll send it to him.
Yeah, that works. That's totally
I'm just gonna start getting random letters from Adrian that nobody has sent in.
Yeah, you've had 46 this week.
Yeah.
But thank you everyone at home for sticking with us, and we will catch you in the next episode of Tales from Anvil. Thanks again. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.